happy to kind of do what it wanted, and as long as it didn't mess with business interests, and business interests were allowed to kind of flourish fairly freely. Now, though, there is a huge, let's say, crackdown on less on the up and up business plans. But the way you get around government interference is with connections. And the way you prevent, let's say, you prevent your wealth from getting stolen is connections. Just like, we employ accountants here to try to pay as little in income taxes or whatever, or corporate tax. There, if you have a buddy in the government, they lay off your back, right? Or if you wine and dine the party chief of your province long enough, they'll leave you alone. But you don't stick your neck out if you don't have protection. And if you have protection, you can basically do whatever you want. With these kids, with kids that are cheating. If they're children of important people, you don't mess with them. That is not a game they can win, right? I mean, I'm sure some of you were teachers, and some of you had difficult students that, you just did not bother messing with or trying to deal with because, for one reason or another, it was going to be more trouble than it was worth to deal with the issue, right? In China, that's fairly common. With business interests, it's also really common. And it is only in the last couple of years that corruption has been taken seriously in any way, shape, or form. One example of how bad this can be is there was in the city of Zhengzhou, which is Henan, there is the Rainbow River, where an illegal pharmacy or illegal pharmaceutical company dumped millions and millions of capsules into a river. The river wasn't big enough, so they literally just kind of sat there and started melting all in different colors. I mean, can you imagine someone somehow setting up a factory in America and no one knows about it? No. Can you imagine setting up a mine these days in America and no one knows about it? Ridiculous, right? Seems to happen in China. And what it is someone's covering your back. It's gotten really common for these power couples to emerge, where one person is a bigwig in business, let's say, and another one is a political bigwig. Bo Xilai, if you've heard about him, is a great example. His wife was apparently this Tots lawyer and writer, and he was a party apparatchik. So they got lots of money, and they were well protected because of Bo's influence. There was a New York Times report that said Xi Jinping's family was worth about $22 million worth of property in Hong Kong, all sorts of holdings here and there. People related to the former prime minister are worth $1 billion. There's no way you can accumulate that kind of wealth without protection. There was a police chief in Guangzhou that owned like 227 houses or something like that. I got a little off track, but go for it.
Yeah, so you mentioned housing. There's been a lot of information about the housing boom, whether housing prices have gone out of hand with all these cities that have been built and they're empty. I mean, what's your observations on that kind of area?
The inequality is, actually, we all complain about how unequal America is. China's far, far worse. You have plenty of people who live, let's say, 4 people to a room. And you have other people that are buying 22 houses. The reason for that is partially social planning. There's a city called Ordos in Inner Mongolia that actually has the second highest living GDP per capita in all of China. It was a city that we built for 6 million people, and only 1 million people live there. It's literally, effectively, a ghost town. Because they thought there was this mining boom and people would just magically flock to the city. Didn't happen because no one really wanted to. Shanghai, they actually will look at apartment buildings to see which ones have lights on, because they actually do not know, they don't actually have proper records of occupancy in the country. Even though when you move, like in America, you don't have to if you don't have a driver's license, you don't have to tell the government when you move, right? It's only get your driver's license if you have to tell the government, oh, I moved. In China, every time you move, even if you're Chinese, you have to go register at the police station. Technically, I'm supposed to, every time I go in and out of the country, let the police station know. Just because. Yet, on the other hand, though, people apparently still don't know who's living where. One of the biggest problems, you said population indirectly. there are way too many people in China for the jobs and the markets available. That's why you have these guards doing, nothing at all. That's why you have the X-ray people. That's why you have, lots of street sweepers and people with really low, medium jobs that are making absolutely nothing. If I fire you, I can find 1,000 people to do your job tomorrow, right? And so because there isn't, because it's not, it's sort of, let's call the workers the sellers, right? It's not a seller's market right now in China. And so there isn't upward pressure on labor, or there isn't upward pressure regarding wages. And so that's why it's easy for people who are wealthy to get more wealth. They're the ones, I think that America has a little bit of this problem right now, but it's not nearly the extent that China has it. Where it really is, if you have the money and the privilege, you have everything. Example, if you're a mayor, you actually basically can put your hand in the cake. You don't have to go through a controller, a treasurer, or anything. You can literally take money if you want it. You can even go talk to a developer and kind of go, so, everyone watch The Simpsons occasionally? If not, Shelbyville is the rival of Springfield. Shelbyville built a 11-story apartment building. Why don't you make ours 12? And that'll actually kind of, in implicit, you better do it. And I'll find a way to make it worth your while. Like I'll arrange a contract and do whatever to make it worth your while. The construction workers might get a little extra work because they'll be building they'll be building 1/8 or like 8% more than they would otherwise build. But really, the only one benefiting is the construction contractor, right? And actually, if I can veer off into corruption again, there's actually a scandal with bridges being built out of garbage in places like Shanghai, believe it or not. Part of the collapse, they found newspaper and polystyrene foam inside, instead of actual concrete being used to reinforce the bridge. Oh, here we go. This I wanted to show actually is, I'm going to come back to this edge. Those are students studying for the Gaokao, and those are IV drips. Apparently they're taking some sort of amino acid solution in order to cram through the night and get a better score on this test. Before the Gaokao, tons of people go to the Lama Temple, a big temple in the heart of Beijing, to pray for their students' success. It's ridiculous. Oh, this is how